Welcome to another session of the Youth Mentorship Sessions. My name's Henning Morales. I'll be your host for this session. And I've got with me standing by Dr. Suzette Hart. And you all know her background. If you don't, it's either flashing on the screen or it flashed on the screen earlier. We don't need to get into a lot of her background. She's a mother, educator, and mentor, and super successful in the world of educating kids and mentoring kids, teaching kids. And when we're talking about youth, we're talking about teenagers or young adults, and really mentoring and coaching these kids and dealing with issues of 2017, not dealing with issues of 1982 or 1952, dealing with issues of today and what kids are dealing with today and how to help these kids get through these types of challenges. And today's topic is a very serious and sensitive topic. We are very positive people, but also we're dealing with issues that are very important. We're dealing a lot of times with life and death issues. So we really want to get into the subject matter of bullying. That's what we're going to be talking about today, bullying of all kinds, the psychology behind bullying, what parents should be teaching kids about it, what coaches should be teaching kids about it, what other kids should be leading other kids with on that subject. And I teach my kids to help the other kids. I teach my kids that because they have the benefit of having conscious parents, and I say that with all due humility, if you're a conscious parent, meaning you're conscious about issues and care about issues and know how to communicate that to kids, that's a conscious parent. Because you have conscious parents, it is your responsibility as a leader, and I teach this to them since they're 3, 4, 5 years old. It all starts when they're little and then it grows from there. That it's your responsibility to help the other kids who don't have that. So when another kid is acting up, let's say on the baseball team, is acting up, instead of making fun of that kid or wondering, what's wrong with that kid, why not teach them something? Why not give them a good example about it? So we'll go ahead and get right into the material. We'll go ahead and get right into the subject matter. And I'd like to bring on Dr. Hart. And my first question, Dr. Hart, is what really are the most important issues in dealing with this subject of bullying in today's day and age, in the schools, on the playgrounds? In your opinion, where do we start on this subject?
Good morning. Thank you, Henning. The first thing that I'd like to say is that we have to acknowledge that there is a problem. A lot of the young children today and youth people in general, they're not so forthcoming that they're bullying. So the first thing we have to do is acknowledge that there is a problem. And sometimes that means investigation, because a lot of time the young children, especially that are bullied, they will not come forward. So once you can determine that it was an actual bullying, and bullying is very tricky because there's such a thin line. The ultimate line of bullying is anything that's making you feel uncomfortable. If the individual feels that something is not right, it's not right. And that is a form of bullying. Once you can determine that a bullying act has occurred, then there are steps that have to be taken to look at it, to find a solution. A lot of times children don't even realize that they are actually bullying. It's basic old school being mean or unkind. And unfortunately, because of media and so much information being pumped into these young children, they find teasing or making fun of as acceptable behavior. And it isn't, because it is a form of bullying. Now,
Again, in it's such a broad subject, but just trying to kind of narrow it down or chunk it down in the different segments here. I think the first step, in my opinion, in dealing with this subject is to talk about the kids that are bullying, and then talk about the kids who are being bullied. It's really two different scenarios and two different psychologies.
Absolutely.
to approach. So if we can just talk about the kid that is doing the bullying, let's just say that we're dealing with, again, the age ranges really don't matter at this point. Bullying is bullying, whether you're 6 or 16 or 60. It's
Absolutely.
a similar concept. We all know as adults, as conscious adults and conscious coaches and conscious parents, we know when a bullying situation is taking place, even if it's maybe a limited example or something that doesn't seem as harsh. But a lot of times, especially with the young kids, you want to nip that non-productive behavior in the bud. So let's just assume that we've identified a bullying situation. And how would you first deal with the child that is doing the bullying?
The child that's doing the bullying would be addressed first. And I would say with younger children, more times than not, they don't even realize that they're actually doing bullying. They're not even realizing that their words are hurting people. A lot of times it can be simply rectified by talking, bringing the child bring it to their attention that they have done this, that they have bullied somebody, and that they made somebody feel uncomfortable. A lot of times just addressing it full-fledged hands-on to the individual. That's a basic bullying 101 when it can be identified and that child understands that they did it. If the child is unwilling to take acceptance for the bullying behavior, that child needs to be made aware that they did indeed were called out on a bullying event.
Well, you know, what I've encountered and with kids, especially younger kids, is that they really don't mean harm with a lot of the things that they do. Even the older kids, you know, they really probably don't mean any harm by it. If you point out the damage that's being done, I think a lot of times that's curative. Now, as you said, if that doesn't work, then you escalate. You go to other levels. But just this simple, as you said, bullying 101 strategy, just sitting the kid down, and you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. When a kid bullies or when a kid is teasing, it's a lose scenario. And if you will share this with the kid that is being bullied feels bad because somebody's teasing them, and obviously they don't want their feelings hurt. The bullying kid actually feels bad as well, because if you point out to the bullying kid, how would you like it if somebody did this to you, right? It's like in the Dirt Merchants when Spencer is trying to tell Brandon, hey, how would you like it if, you know, Brandon is a burglar, right? And Spencer's the you know, quote unquote on the straight and narrow, and he says, how would you like it if somebody broke into your house and stole all your stuff? You know, and so
right.
Think of it that way. You wouldn't like it if somebody did it to you. It's just you don't feel good about it. They don't feel good about it. Maybe you got a cheap laugh out of it, but right. Then you feel bad when it's all said and done. So do you like that approach? Is that something that I feel that it's worked for certain of my situations? And again, I don't necessarily experience bullying because, again, of how trained my kids are just to deal with it or not deal with it. It really doesn't come up as much. But really on the baseball field, I see it as more as teasing, or where one of the kids, maybe if we score a lot of runs really quick, maybe they'll tease the other kid. And I always will pull them aside and explain that, hey, when the next game comes and they score a lot of runs on us, you wouldn't want them to do that to us. How do you feel about that approach?
I think it's a wonderful approach, and it truly does work. As you said it best, most children and adults for that matter too, they're not really trying to hurt somebody. They're not trying to bully someone. And believe it or not, there are many, many people who are being bullied and don't even realize that they are being bullied. It's a very, very difficult case to prove unless, unfortunately, you yourself have been bullied. Someone who has been bullied, who can verbalize it, there's a feeling of that is unexplainable. But it's almost counseling. If you sit down with the individuals, especially if you have the means or the ability to get those two individuals together, a lot of times it's not one-on-one. A lot of times it's big groups against one, which brings in that you brought up the whole baseball situation. A lot of people would say, oh yeah, they're bullying me on the baseball field. They're bullying me on the football field. There's a whole different concept that comes with, hey, get the ball. Hey, we're going to smash them. We're going to kill them and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole different thing. And school systems are having a very difficult time with this because it's almost extremely difficult to pinpoint a bullying situation unless it's one of these horrible situations which you hope you never get to. But the first approach always is to talk to the individual. I would say 8 out of 10 cases in a school system, in a typical elementary school system setting, 8 out of 10 cases truly turn out innocent, non-bullying, one-on-one, almost an argument that can be diffused. But you will get those cases that are truly old-fashioned bullying that have to be addressed. And again, that's a whole nother level. First level is always conversation, always, and a lot of role reversal, exactly flipping it. You said, hey, you're tormenting a child because he's overweight. Take that kid who did that tormenting and role reversal, see how they feel. And it works. It does work.
Right. Well, that's very good information. And again, our audience here are first of all educators. Our audience are also teachers, coaches, and also can be other kids. So we'd like to start with the most simplistic example and what to do. And again, if in 80% of the cases or thereabouts, the issue gets solved through communication, then be conscious enough to communicate. Don't be lazy in your communication. And we talk about this all the time. A lot of parenting skills, teaching skills, coaching skills are really very much common sense. But you need to take a step back and slow down so that you can make that communication happen. I'm a runner, and I run every day, run all over the world. Put my sneakers and my iPod have been to China, have been to all over Europe, all over South America, Canada, all over the United States. And you always have a choice. It's rare that you just have a straight plane to run on. There's always a choice to go uphill first or go downhill. When you go out, there's always some kind of a hill. The tendency is to go downhill first. That's the tendency, right? And a lot of these far off and exotic places, you go downhill, you go way down, then you got to come up the hill, right? It's much better to go up the hill first, and then you can have the enjoyment of coming down the hill and enjoying the view on the way down. So with parenting and coaching, the discipline for those of us who are conscious parents and conscious coaches is to slow down and make that communication happen in the moment, not just let it go, not just take the easy route, not just go downhill, because then later it's going to be harder for you to go uphill. So take the time and make that communication happen with these kids. And a lot of these issues are going to be non-existent. On my teams, for example, now I'm not a classroom teacher, but I am a baseball coach and manager of the team. I've been doing it for 5 years. So I've had 70 or 80 kids. All right. So I've seen the patterns from 4, 5, 6, really 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. And on my teams, we don't have arguing and fighting. We don't have teasing. We don't have fights. Towards the middle of the season and the beginning of the season is when the work has to happen. That's when you have to pull little Johnny aside and say, hey, little Johnny, it's not good to, spit on the other kid, okay? How would you like it if somebody spat on you? Same concept. But as the season progresses and as these kids know they're going to be reprimanded if they tease or if they instigate with the other kids, then they know that the bad habits fall away. And I say this again through all these years of experience and also dealing with my kids. So that conscious communication is first, 100%. Now, let's stay with the kid that is bullying. If it's let's take it to the 201 level. You have a child who has this as a habit. They tease, they bully, they make fun of the other kids, and I want to address that right now because, again, slowing down and just thinking of this logically, there's obviously something going on at home, or there's obviously something that's happened in the past that's created this. There's obviously something in the kid's environment that is either a sadness or an anger issue or
Absolutely. Something
going on. So again, now stepping up the level here of involvement. What do you do, Dr. Hart, with that more problematic case?
Yeah, you're answering all basically your own questions that you're bringing out because they're all 100% on target. People, and I will say people because they're all ages, people who do the actual bullying, who do the act of bullying, either A, have been bullied themselves. It's old classic school. They were bullied, so they're bullying it. But more times than not, they're unhappy with themselves. Something has happened to them, whether it's a poor home life, they didn't make the team, their grades are poor. A lot of times with these young adults, it's, they're in love, first puppy love, heartbreak, all these kinds of things that can happen. But someone who bullies is not happy with themselves. Someone who is mean to somebody else, who hits somebody else, who's violent with somebody else, it's all 101 basic that they have their own issues. So the first thing that has to be done is that person has to be made aware that they have done something that I don't want to say is wrong, but that they've done something out of a bad place. They've done something out of pain or hurt themselves, which really is psychology involved, which is why the counselors in school situations, why therapists are filled with individuals who are bullies, because they've made that to be their makeup. That's who they are. The way you say you have someone who is a doctor, who is a lawyer, there are actual people that this is part of their makeup, and you're now having to dismantle that. And you do that through therapy. You do that through communication, and it's always the key to whether the person is the actual bully or whether the person who is being bullied is communication. You can't do the staple of why did you do that? You can't ask questions that can give one word answers. They have to be questions to bring out where they can bring their feelings out. And 9 out of 10 times, they themselves are going through something horrific, as you said. And it might not even be something that's so bad, but to them in their lives, it is that bad. And it's a feeling of empowerment when they can hurt somebody else that makes them feel that they accomplished their goal.